Happy Friday, everybody. Max here with your fix of gaming news. Coming up, a former Highguard dev reflects on the game's disastrous reception. There's some confusion about that 2D God of War game that Shadow dropped yesterday, and that Nintendo Switch Virtual Boy accessory is good for more than just playing Virtual Boy games. Let's get into it. Yesterday, we reported on the news that Wildlight, the developer of Highguard, had laid off a large portion of the game's development team less than 2 weeks after launch. Today, one of the former employees has spoken up about Highguard's situation and about the state of video game discourse as a whole. In a post on Twitter, tech artist and rigger Josh Sobel wrote, "The day leading up to the Game Awards 2025 was amongst the most exciting of my life. After 2.5 years of passionately working on Highguard, we were ready to reveal it to the world. The future seemed bright. But then the trailer came out and it was all downhill from there." Content creators love to point out the bias in folks who give positive previews after being flown out for an event, but ignore the fact that when their negative-leaning content gets 10 times the engagement of the positive, they've got just as much incentive to lean into a disingenuous direction, whether consciously or not. Sobel went on to detail his own personal experience and how he got dogpiled on Twitter for being proud of the game he'd worked on, how dare he, and how setting his account to private in response to that resulted in content creators making videos accusing him of being a coward. Much of Highguard's initial reaction was due to its prominent One More Thing placement in the Game Awards. Allegedly, this kind of a reveal is usually pay to play, but Highguard supposedly got that spotlight because Jeff Keighley was personally really impressed with the game. This misconception didn't do Highguard any favors, as Sobel explains. Quote, "We were turned into a joke from minute one, largely due to false assumptions about a $1 million ad placement, which even prominent journalists soon began to state as fact. Within minutes, it was decided this game was dead on arrival, and creators now had free rage bait content for a month. At launch, we received over 14,000 review bombs from users with less than an hour of playtime. Many didn't even finish the required tutorial." You can read Sobel's full thoughts on Twitter or over on IGN. Highguard might not be for everybody, but it definitely does not deserve the amount of hate it has gotten. It is a totally functional video game where wizards with guns try to break into each other's castles, and some of those wizards are riding on bears. Also, you can play it for free right now on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. It might not be for everybody, but it's also not a broken mess that's being sold for $70, so food for thought. Moving on, yesterday Sony capped off its state of play with the surprise announcement of God of War Sons of Sparta, a 2D pixel art side-scroller prequel that follows Kratos before he was fully deified. Now, as the title suggests, Kratos is not Sparta's only child. The official description reads, quote, "Experience an untold chapter in Kratos' journey set during the harsh years of Spartan training alongside his brother Deimos." And it sums up the plot as follows. After a fellow cadet goes missing, Kratos and Deimos vow to find him and embark on an adventure that will put their training and Spartan spirit to the test. Now, between that and the fact that the key art features two dudes leaping into battle, and the fact that the PlayStation storefront page says 1 to 2 players, you might assume it's a co-op game, right? Well, that's what a bunch of players assumed when they paid $30 for it, but were disappointed to find no clear way to play this game alongside a friend. On Reddit, God of War fan Mephistocles wrote, quote, "Just got it installed and running. So far, it's not allowing drop-in play on second controller, and there were no 2-player options on start menu. Will update if I find it does allow co-op, but it doesn't look like it." Another post from user Bob the Builder reads, "I'm so sad. I bought it instantly because I thought it would be co-op. Maybe they'll add it in the future?" IGN reached out to Sony Santa Monica and Megacat Studios for official clarification, but as of me recording this to you, we haven't heard anything back, but keep an eye on IGN for any updates. On the bright side, some players were pleasantly surprised to discover that it is in fact a Metroidvania, which wasn't exactly communicated by the trailer, though it's very possible Sony is wary of using a term that is a portmanteau of 2 video game franchises owned by Nintendo and Konami, respectively. So if you're looking for a Metroidvania to play this weekend that may potentially get a co-op mode at some point, that's out now on PS5. Finally, speaking of Nintendo, the Virtual Boy accessory doesn't officially release until next week, but early impressions reveal it can be used to access VR modes for a few Switch games. VGC reports that the Switch 2 Virtual Boy accessory, which is officially meant for use with the Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics, can also be used to access the VR modes that were added to select Switch games alongside the release of the Nintendo Labo VR set back in 2019. The games in question are Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Super Mario Odyssey, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now remember, none of these games were designed with VR in mind, and the Switch is not a dedicated VR device by any stretch of the imagination, so don't expect a cutting-edge immersive experience. But if you slept on that cardboard Labo headset and were curious about what these games might be like in VR, Virtual Boy has got your back. The Virtual Boy accessory is released on February 17th in a $99.99 plastic version and a $24.99 cardboard one, so if you're looking for something strange and exotic to put on your Switch and then put on your face, there you go. Man, Virtual Boy. Play Teleroboxer, that one's fun. That is your fix for Friday, February 13th, 2026. Before we go, a heads up for all the Pokemon trainers out there. Do you want to be the very best like no one ever was? Streamline your journey to becoming a master trainer with Planet Pokemon. Choose your Pokemon, filtering by type, ability, or game availability, then use the full team builder to assemble an unbeatable lineup. Plan out the optimal set of